Check out carmarshal.com. The link is in the description. They help support us.
Hero fireman pulls woman from wreckage, saves her life, so a cop arrested him. When a veteran fireman witnessed a horrific car accident, he immediately began working to save the victim. The first officer to arrive on the scene thanked the hero by harassing and then arresting him while doing nothing for the victim. By Rachel Blevins, February 6, 2018. Meansville, Georgia. When a veteran fireman witnessed a horrific car accident, he jumped into action and did everything in his power to save the victim. But even though his actions saved a woman's life, the police officer who finally made it to the scene thanked the fireman by arresting him and throwing him in jail. Rick Rickerson, 56, joined the Griffin Fire Department in 1985, and he has devoted his life to saving lives. He told 11 Alive News that when he witnessed a car flipping over on the highway after its driver lost control, he immediately acted on instinct. "My training pretty much kicked in as soon as I witnessed the wreck," Rickerson said. "You go into the mode of firefighter when you see this happen. Many times, the worst thing you can do is nothing." The driver of the car, Rebecca Buchanan, was trapped and not breathing when Rickerson reached her. Other Good Samaritans stopped their cars on the side of the highway and rushed to help Rickerson help Buchanan from her car. In addition to administering CPR to help Buchanan breathe, Rickerson also called 911 multiple times and gives the dispatcher clear and concise reports of what was happening, and how police could help. This 911? Pike County? This is Rick Rickerson. I'm a retired battalion chief, Griffin Fire Department. I'm on the scene of an overturned single vehicle with a single occupant, unresponsive at this time, Rickerson said on the first call. Advertisement. The second call was made after Rickerson cleared Buchanan's airway so that she could breathe. "No first responders are here yet. Can you advise your officer in charge of fire responding that Rick Rickerson is on the scene and I would suggest them requesting life flight," he said. The dispatcher then relayed the news over the radio to a state trooper who responded, "I'm actually a trooper with the state patrol, I'm in training, so I'm kinda off. If you have access to life flight, I would definitely have them en route." When Georgia State Patrol Trooper, Sergeant Rodney Jeter finally arrived on the scene, he seemed to care very little about the fact that there was a woman who was in desperate need of emergency medical assistance. Instead, he was more concerned about the fact that when Rickerson jumped out of his truck to save the woman's life, he left it in the middle of the road with the keys in the ignition. Rickerson told 11 Alive News that he remembers Jeter approaching the group working to revive Buchanan and demanding to know who owned the car. "I said, 'It's mine, I need you to move it.' And I looked over at him and I said, 'I'm not leaving this patient,'" Rickerson said. The police sergeant, who apparently cared more about his bruised ego than the woman whose life was hanging by a thread, responded, "Sir? I said I want this truck moved." But Rickerson argued that because there were no other emergency personnel members on the scene, he needed to stay by Buchanan's side until they arrived. In his report, Jeter claimed that Rickerson was not rendering aid to the victim of the car accident at the time Jeter arrived, which is a conflicting story that goes against the accounts of both Rickerson and other witnesses. Jeter insisted that he asked Rickerson to move his vehicle to make room for emergency vehicles that are coming, and that Rickerson responded, "I don't care who you are. You can take me to jail, but I'm not moving my vehicle or leaving this patient right now." Rickerson told 11 Alive News that Jeter then proceeded to continue badgering Rickerson, claiming that he was a trained paramedic. "And I questioned him, 'You're a paramedic? You didn't put your hands on that patient. You didn't help us open that door,' Rickerson said. All paramedics have vehicle extrication training. But he didn't do anything to assist us with this patient." One of the witnesses volunteered to move Rickerson's truck, and first responders finally arrived and loaded Buchanan onto a stretcher. However, the comments made by other officers and sheriff's deputies on the scene were much more alarming. A dashcam on one of the police cruisers caught the officers discussing Rickerson's conduct, and saying things such as, "He thinks he knows every single thing there is to know about everything, he is a piece of shit. He's a piece of shit, and I just hate. I hate. He is a piece. I told you there was something wrong with him." Jeter then confronted Rickerson and decided to read him the right act about the situation. Rickerson stood his ground, and Jeter asserted his dominance by arresting the hero who had just saved a woman's life for obstruction of a law enforcement officer. The officers on the scene were caught on the dashcam saying, "He's going for a ride, and he's locking his ass up." Rickerson was taken to the Pike County Jail where he was forced to spend several hours waiting. He now faces the first mark on his record in more than 30 years after the incident occurred on October 10, 2017. But he told 11 Alive News that he would do it all over again, because in the end, Rebecca Buchanan survived, and her 5-year-old daughter did not lose her mother. "I would not do anything different. The outcome is this lady is alive. There's no cross on the side of the road of that highway." Unfortunately, as the Free Thought Project has reported, Rick Rickerson is not alone. A similar incident occurred in 2003 when Captain David Wilson, a veteran firefighter with 27 years of experience, arrived at the scene of a nasty car accident in Hazelwood, Missouri. As he was attending to the victim, he was approached by a police officer who seemed to care more about the position of the truck than about the survivors of the crash. When Wilson ignored orders from Officer Todd Greaves to move his vehicle, Greaves became agitated and decided to take matters into his own hands. Greaves arrested the firefighter and kept him detained by a patrol car for 23 minutes until a supervisor told him to let Wilson go. Wilson filed a civil rights lawsuit and received $17,500 in damages. Then in March 2014, a volunteer fireman in New Roads, Louisiana, was rendering aid to a woman who passed out in her home. He was the first one on the scene, and when police arrived, instead of asking about the state of the patient, they demanded that the fireman move his truck. When he did not comply, the officer arrested and detained him for nearly 15 minutes. In February 2014, when Jacob Gregoire, a veteran firefighter with 12 years of experience, was responding to the scene of an accident in Chula Vista, California, he was also ordered to move his truck. Gregoire ignored the commands from a California highway patrolman, and he was arrested and detained on the side of the highway for 30 minutes. In response to the incident, Chula Vista Fire Chief Dave Hanneman called CHP's behavior ridiculous, and the firefighters union president John Hess praised Gregoire's actions. "He made all firefighters look good. He was there to protect the citizens and he was willing to take a stand to do that," Hess said. Become a patron.
A life and death situation on a desolate Pike County road. A woman is in a rollover crash. She's trapped in her car and stopped breathing, and help was minutes away. Well, as Brendan Keefe reports, our chief investigator, a stranger stopped to help, and it cost him his freedom.
The vehicle has overturned a couple of times. There is entrapment. The doors will not open.
The female is unconscious.
We couldn't get the doors open.
They're going to need life flight.
Unresponsive, and they do not believe she's breathing. It's a possible fatality.
I was westbound here on 109, fishtailed back to the right, back to the left. She hit this culvert with her front end, and she flipped end over end twice, came to rest on her wheels. Her car landed approximately right here, reaching in the car. She had no breath. Fortunately, with the help of the 3 Good Samaritans, we did get the door open.
He saved my life.
How serious was this crash?
It was very serious. They didn't think I was going to make it.
They thought you were going to die.
Yes, sir. And it took 7 hours for surgeons to put all my spinal cord back together, and then they fused it together with metal rods.
Becca Buchanan survived with one thing not broken: her faith in the heroism of complete strangers.
Given everything you've been through, do you still feel lucky?
I don't feel lucky. I feel blessed.
Blessed?
Blessed.
Why?
I drive that road every day. I've never seen Mr. Rick, but for that day, for our paths to cross, just so he could save my life, I feel blessed. And I'm blessed to know that there are still good people out there like him.
This is Rick Wickerson. I'm a retired battalion chief, Griffin Fire Department. I'm on the scene. She is unresponsive, and at this time, I don't think she's breathing.
That's right, Rick Rickerson has been on hundreds of rescues as a career firefighter, but this time the retired chief was the first responder.
It opened her airway and her mouth was full of blood, and I cleared the blood again, and it was probably another 45 seconds before the second breath. And somewhere in that point between the second and third breath, that's when I heard, whose truck is this? He said, I need you to move your truck. And I looked at my patient, I looked back at him, and I said, I'm not leaving this patient. He turned sideways and he said, sir, I said I want this truck moved. And again, I said, I'm not leaving my patient.
I come close to, I had to really control myself to keep from arresting him.
The man there in plain clothes is Georgia State Patrol Sergeant Scott Jeter, an instructor at the State Police Academy.
Hey, buddy. Hey, son.
About to place the retired firefighter in handcuffs seconds after he saved Becca's life.
All I ask you to do is just move your vehicle.
And you know if I leave that patient with two civilians,
I understand all
and that patient goes back not breathing, I opened up her airway to make her breathe.
I've already told you my whole background.
I don't care about your background. I care about what happened right here. You're mad at me because I don't care about your background. He kept following me, telling me he wanted me to hear him out, telling me he was a paramedic. He was once a paramedic. And I questioned him. I said, you're a paramedic. You didn't put your hands on that patient. You didn't help us open that door. All paramedics had vehicle extrication training, but he didn't do anything to assist us with this patient.
The keys weren't in Rickerson's pocket. They were still in the ignition. The engine was running when another Good Samaritan volunteered to jump in and move his truck out of the way before the first ambulance arrived on the scene. What is the most pressing thing on that scene at that moment?
By far, the life of this lady. She had only had 2 or 3 breaths. I was prepared to breathe for her if she was going to stop breathing again. I wasn't leaving that patient.
Rick Rickerson watched the life flight helicopter take off while handcuffed in the back of the trooper's car.
He's locking his ass up.
The retired fire chief spent the next several hours in the Pike County Jail.
What were you charged with?
Obstruction of a law enforcement officer.
You weren't rewarded with anything but a pair of handcuffs.
I was rewarded by the hug from that lady when I went to visit her at the hospital and her 5-year-old daughter. That was a reward.
He walked in, hiding behind a dozen of roses, and he just grabbed me and said, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay. I'm so glad to see you're okay.
Were there tears?
Oh my gosh, yes. The whole room was crying.
She went end over end right there, and it just happened to land on the wheels right here.
Not everybody will stop, and not everybody can do what you could do. And I'm just thankful, and I'm sure she's thankful.
He saved my life. I owe him everything.
I would not do anything different. The outcome is this lady is alive. There's no cross on the side of the road on that highway.
So Rickerson is still facing charges for all this?
Yeah, the Griffin DA is still prosecuting this. The crash happened back in October. Becca was in the hospital for weeks and then spent months in rehab. She only got out just before Christmas.
And this is all because of his truck was in the way. Was it ever moved?
Yeah, it was moved within seconds, Vinny, by another Good Samaritan because the keys were in it, the engine was running, and Rick Rickerson, as fire chief in Griffin, actually wrote the book on where to park emergency vehicles. Responding to incidents like this, he parked exactly where his own manual said he should have parked his command car.
Unbelievable. Thanks so much, Brandon. We appreciate it.
County, this is Charlotte County Cop Watch, and I wanted to explain what fair use is. You can use pieces of news articles if you're doing it for news reporting, you have commentary, and you're doing it for education purposes. So that's what fair use is, as you can see right here. Another reason why I wanted to make this video is to let you know I have just joined with Patreon. A nice thing with Patreon, I make no money on YouTube. They took the money away years ago. And so this is another way to give, and it's a nice thing too because you can give monthly. You can give $1, $5, $10, whatever. I do 4 to 5 hours a day on trying to wake the sheeple up on how corrupt it is and different ways that you can fight the corruption. So Patreon is a way that you can do it, and then of course the old way is still there. Donate to Charlotte County Cop Watch with PayPal or credit card. So keep that in mind. 4 to 5 hours a day. I make no money, but the corruption happened to me, and I'm sick of it, so I'm trying to wake people up. But my wife would love it if some, if we could get some help out there. There's 47,000 subscribers. Just think if each one of you subscribers just gave a, let's say, actually, yes, $1 a month. 47,000 subscribers gave $1 a month. That would be awesome. That's not going to happen. But anyways, that would be great if it did happen. But, do the math in your head. Just think about it. Like I said, 4 to 5 hours a day. I get no money from YouTube. YouTube has gone nuts. You can't do anything anymore. They're taking the money away everywhere. So these are a couple different ways that you can still help out with all this time that I put in. And as you know, I'm in a special situation where, at least I can do it, 4 to 5 hours a day. We have a cleaning company during the day. That's what allows me to do this, and we're debt-free. So this is my hobby. I don't go fishing and all that other crap. I try to save the world. So help me out to make the wife happy, man. In fact, if you guys did give $1 a day, and there was 47,000 of you, and you did it, and each of you gave $1, and that was every month, oh my God, yes, I could quit. I could start suing them. Another idea too that we have is, if I got, some funds, we could actually contact everyone that has been ticketed and or arrested and put in jail and start sending them postcards to let them know we're here, and to see if everything went all right, and if it didn't, find out their story. So we could even do more investigations and more lawsuits. Lawsuits take money. So just think about that. 47,000 of you so far right now. $1 a day. $1 a month on Patreon, or $5 a month Patreon, 10, 20, whatever. Just do the math in your head. Help out. This is a lot of work every single day. Thanks.